Imagine being a certified financial planner with $50,000 of credit card debt, and you know better, but you can't stop doing it because your brain just literally just keeps doing things. You are not in control of your brain. Your brain keeps making you do stuff you don't want to do, and you're telling yourself you're not broken, you're okay, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna figure it out, but it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So the money thing with ADHD, it feels like a curse. It really does. And that curse it's one of the worst curses because the stakes are so high with our money. It's a really important part of our life that we really love to bury our heads in the sand about and avoid. And that almost certainly spells later worse and worse disasters happening and more stress and all the bad things. But, we just avoid it. It's so common. And, I spent years beating myself up, taking mental and emotional hit after hit. And, if only I had more willpower and discipline, then it'd all be, then I'd be great. So let's figure out a way to have that. Well, that's not how our brains work. And we're literally not wired to have that. We don't have willpower and discipline for the things that we don't want to do. Get me playing some golf and get me a new hobby that's stimulating. Great, I'll do it. But then what if that's just an escape from pain that I'm not confronting, What about that? So don't try and have more willpower and discipline and stop fighting it. And here's the real kicker. It's never going to be about willpower or discipline. You're never going to have enough willpower or discipline to will yourself and brute force yourself out of money stress and money debt and all the stuff. The problem isn't in our character. It's that we don't know what to do, how to do it, or even how to think about doing it. We're playing a game using rules that were not written for us in a language we can't speak. So we just continue on beating ourselves up about it, blaming ourselves for being stupid. And we let the shame and the embarrassment pile on. And before you know it, we are scared crapless of looking at our money, thinking about money. We start to resent money, and shame eats away at us. And then we start to feel more and more off and dysregulated. And eventually, we crumble. But what if I told you that crumbling was actually the beginning? I am David DeWitt. I created Shameless Money because honestly, I had to. I've spent the last 10 years battling my financial demons, among many other demons, but the financial one, that one was the most destructive. It is. And while I am way better off than I was 10 years ago, I'll admit I'm still really behind financially. I still overspend a lot of months. I still fall back into old patterns, but here's the difference. Here is the difference between me and 10 years ago. I am not scared anymore of my money, at all. I don't avoid it. I don't hide from it. And I am energized and even motivated about building wealth and frankly, getting rich. In the next 5 years, that's the goal, to get rich. I'm not scared of it, and that's what I want. And while part of me is still ooh, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to work relentlessly to battle that voice in my head. Well, I'm sorry, not battle. I don't do battling. I do accepting and befriending. Who is that voice in my head? What does that voice in my head want? Why is it feeling that way? But anyways, where are we going with this? This might not sound very radical to you, but if you know what I'm talking about, the shift from being inescapably stressed out about money to feeling an attitude of hope and energy and true acceptance and desire, it's a big shift, and I'm proud to say I've made that shift. So I am starting a business that's going to address money and ADHD in the way that it has to be addressed, because it cannot be addressed in a way that is superficial anymore. It can't just be about automate, do this and that, have this tip, have this system, have reminders. We have to go deeper. It's time to go deeper. And so in the next few minutes, I'm going to share my story with you, the disasters, the breakthroughs, and why people with ADHD do need a totally different approach to money management. One that is going to embrace who we are, because this story, it might be your story too. So let's rewind. Let's go back in time. I was diagnosed with inattentive ADHD when I was 16 years old, and I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant. No one told me what it was going to mean and what it would do to my life and how it would affect me. I was just like, hey kid, here, we're going to give you all these reading tests and all of these, all these tests, and we're going to, show you, how bad at reading you are and how much you can't pay attention. And we're going to give you an IQ test and show you how you're actually kind of smart, but on this score, yeah, you got ADHD, bud. And here's some pills. Okay, good luck to you. That's how the experience went for me. Great experience, let me tell you. And as a little kid, I was the quiet kid. I was lost in my own world. I was always able to play alone independently for long stretches of time. I was able to make things and build, and I loved to just be in my own world. just lost in my own daydreams. The most daydreamy kid you could really possibly imagine. And I still love to daydream, let's be real. High school hit, and I managed to survive high school with, okay grades, but I had to completely game the system, if you know what I mean. And I know a lot of you know what I mean when we're talking about gaming the financial system, because a lot of us are playing that game. Balance transfers, those kinds of things until it runs out. So after my diagnosis, I was given the meds and blah, 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 but from that point until recently, I pretty much felt like ADHD was something, from 16 to 30, ADHD, 29, I guess, the ADHD was something to hide, to be kind of embarrassed about, like, oh, I don't want people to know. I'm going to mask and I'm going to, try to fit in, Nobody told me, like I mentioned before, because I'm partially reading notes and I'm partially just riffing because this is fun. Nobody told me how much it was going to affect my life. Every part of my life, every domain of life is going to affect in a big way. So let's keep going. So after college, I landed a job at this is always the hardest thing for me to say, at an investment firm as a mutual fund accountant, and I thrived there. I'm going to tell you right now, this was the best job for someone with ADHD who had a very tumultuous college and high school experience, because I had the same job every day. I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to turn in my work and check it off, done. Like, it was like, boom, self-efficacy, boom, I did it. I got promoted. And during this time, I also developed an obsession with stocks and trading and research. I loved researching stocks. I'm a researcher at heart, and I loved investing and trading and learning. I just love learning. I always have loved learning. Let's be real. I know a lot of us ADHDers love learning. Then the big shift came. I joined my dad's investment firm. He basically just took me, just said, hey, come here, I'll pay you more. I was like, okay. And from the outside, it looked like a dream because, it's a family business, there's client trust already there, we're managing people's money, all this fun stuff. But on the inside of the walls of this business, it was chaos. It was pure chaos. There was no structure. My dad has ADHD. No direction, no training. I didn't know how to get clients. I had no confidence to be like, hey, Mr. Smith, would you like to give me your $25 million and let me manage it for you? I'm this 24-year-old who, who's really got, knows what he's doing. Nah, that didn't come naturally to me. I was scared poopless to do that. Yeah, I was totally scared. And I was 25, and I was full of imposter syndrome, starting to get it big time because I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't able to get any little wins every day. I just sat there. I didn't know what to do half the time. I wasn't really told what to do. I was just there as there is my dad's son, the legacy. I'm the legacy. I'm going to take over and do it. And so, I gave solid advice to clients, and my personal finances were starting to get messier. And you wouldn't say it was messy, because the truth of this, and this is truth that I've been very vulnerable over the last 4 years or 5 years or whatever, on my podcast and everything. But I'm just gonna be straight up with y'all. I had access to a significant amount of money at this time, so it wasn't like my finances were not a mess. If you were just to pick it out, just stop time and be like, hey, when 25-year-old Dave, let's look at his balance sheet. He'd be like, wow, he's doing great. How did he get all that money? Truth is that I had access to an account, a UTMA account, which when you with a UTMA account, when you turn 18, it becomes yours. Your parents put money in it, then it becomes yours. And just telling you right now, don't do that for your kids unless your kid is literally the most responsible person in the entire world, which he's probably not. So don't do it. So I had this account that became mine. It was supposed to be for my college, but my dad didn't want to use it for college because the stocks that he had invested in, it wasn't the right time to sell them for college. So he just paid out of pocket for my college because I'm very fortunate and I've had a lot of things just handed to me. I'm not going to lie about that. I am a privileged white kid, who's been handed a lot, and that's just the truth. I'm not going to deny that. But there's a story to every social class and the way that money is handled. And to steal a line from my favorite band, I wasn't raised in the hood, but I do know a thing or two about pain and darkness, because while I was on paper would have seemed to have a very fortunate, cushy life, it never felt that way. Yeah, we'll get into that. So I had all this money and I was just trading it, day trading, stock option trading, all the trading, gambling. Really, I was just gambling, thinking though that I was being smart, and I developed a lot of hubris because I had a lot of these big wins where I'd make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on one trade very quickly. And I'd be like, wow, I'm set now, I'm good. So just fast forward, not a whole lot of time at all. That was all gone. All the money was gone. We're talking just a couple $100,000. That's what we're talking about. gone. It had gone from a couple hundred to like 400 grand, back to a couple hundred, back then to 100, then to 50, then to 10, then to 0, then to negative, then to debt. Yeah, that happened. So it was before I went to 0. I had also, and there's so much to unpack here. I have to keep going because this is going to take too long. One day I wanted a car, and I have all this money that I didn't earn. That was just here. So I'll just, I had made money on this trade, so I'll just buy a car. But I didn't buy a car. I thought, well, what would be a better investment? I should just buy a house. So I bought a house because I could just take the money. I could do a 20% down payment, and I could feel like I fit in with the world, and that I earned this, and that I worked hard, and that I had, it was all of my own making. I could present that persona to the world, knowing deep down that I didn't do that. It's just given to me. And that, when I bought that house, is what triggered what I am going to call the blackout era. For the next 6 to 12 months, the ADHD impulse spender came out in force. Like, boom, I furnished the entire house in a day, just going to the store and saying, I want that furniture. Let's bring it in. Let's put it in the house. Like, the golf stuff happened, and bought the house, put a golf simulator in the garage. Like, I'm telling you right now, I was depressed. I was very depressed during this time, and yes, I was absolutely feeling a deep void with all of this. But yeah, the money vanished, and then the credit card debt happened. And then it feels like I woke up from a dream, because once I realized and took stock of what had happened over this period of time, where it was like a manic episode, honestly. It may have been. I don't know. It was as closest to that as I've ever been. When I finally took stock of what had happened and where I was, the anxiety, the shame, the shock, I was consumed with guilt and shame and disgust with myself. And the cognitive dissonance of still being a financial professional while being financially wrecked was literally unbearable. And so what does someone who has now developed the pattern of spending with very, very poor executive function do when they're feeling unbearable pain? They just compound it. That's what your brain's going to do to survive. Just what felt good, even for 5 minutes, do that. Keep going. This was like rock bottom number 1. There's another rock bottom number 2 coming up soon, but this was rock bottom number 1. Turning point. Let's move it up a little bit here. In 2021, coming out of this misery, I was questioning, I'm probably not going to be in this industry much longer. I was trying things. I was trying to do, just to give you more insight into the full, me trying to be something for the world that I didn't feel I was inside at all, but trying so hard to mask and just portray some image of someone who's successful. I started a podcast called the Invest Smarter Podcast. In fact, you could probably go look it up and listen to some episodes of the Invest Smarter Podcast with Dave DeWitt. But in trying to learn how to do podcasting, I was in this group, and one of the people in the group was doing an ADHD podcast about it was some very niche, sports and ADHD. And I just was like, ADHD? What? I have that. And up until this point, every single thing I did stupid, I just literally I put entirely on myself. It was entirely a reflection of who I was as a person, and there was no explanation. Maybe I blamed it on some things on ADHD. I don't remember. And so I kind of just casually did some research, and I found this book called Delivered from Distraction by Ed Hallowell. And holy smokes, this was the moment. This was the first time I ever felt different and a little bit better, at a deeper level. The very first taste of it. This book was someone wrote it, Dear David, here's a book about you. And when he started listing out, there was a part of it in the beginning where he lists, he just goes through 100 things that you'll struggle with if you have ADHD. Oh, I think it was part of the if you struggle with a lot of these things, you probably have it. But he was saying them in a very human and personal kind of real way that I was in tears in the car listening to this book, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I just had no clue. And so I finally felt like I knew now. I felt like I understood now. My money issues weren't my character flaw. This is a serious thing I have. ADHD, this is serious. And now that I'm gonna understand this, things will start to get better. My brain was just chasing dopamine. Spending was my hit, and there was no one there to stop me. And I've never really liked being told what to do, so tell me not to spend any more money, I'll just spend more money. So I was like, you know what? I feel a little bit more safe. For the first time in my life, my nervous system actually relaxed a little bit reading this book and feeling understood and feeling seen and feeling validated. And something triggered in me, and I started thinking to myself, I was like, well, if I'm going to survive in this industry, well, I really ought to, they always say get a niche, so I'll just make my niche ADHD. I'll work with people who I understand. The truth is, when I first started this, it was I won't feel my shame as much with other people who are feeling shame about their money. So like, what a great fit. So while I pitched it as, and I'm being just as honest as I possibly can, because being brutally honest is my thing now, because I despise fakeness. While I was pitching the service as being a place where we can work with your money and I can help you and understand your money, and we can build systems and we can get you on the path towards wealth. And, financial planners that are out there, they're really working with people that already have a lot of wealth, but like, you need to learn how to like get the wealth. So I'll be that guy. But really, thinking about it, I'm kind of realizing this now, or at least clarifying it. It was more of a self-protection for me in the beginning, because I was like, oh, we can wallow in our shame together. Oof, okay. That's a heavy one, but that's okay. So I started the business, InFocus Wealth Strategies, and I was serving ADHD clients. And in 2022, I passed the CFP exam because I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this right. I'm in recovery of my own financial issues, so I'm going to make sure that I know how to give people a financial plan the responsible way, give them the right advice, all that stuff. That was the plan. And the business grew. It grew and grew and grew fast. I wouldn't even really call it business because I had no idea how to run a business. I had spent 3 years just dilly-dallying, blowing all my money, not being depressed and not knowing what to do, to now like having all these clients wanting to work with me, because turns out there was demand for this, and I thought maybe there would be demand, but I didn't know there'd be that much, and I just kept on taking clients, and I kept charging what I thought I was worth, which was like pretty much nothing. And at this point in time, I didn't know how still emotionally raw and perfectionistic and broken I still really was. So when I had like 50 clients, then I felt so much unbearable pressure that I collapsed. It crushed me. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't handle that many clients. I couldn't handle them needing so many people needing me when I couldn't even really take care of myself. It was just total overwhelm. And I do have really pretty bad like executive function challenges. So it was hard, and I had no plan. I was winging it. I was trying. It was tough, and I became so perfectionistic. I became so like I need to come up with something new and new and new. And there's so much revelation around this that I had. There's so much revelation. I can't get into it all right now, but this was the second flop, and this flop felt worse, and this flop was like harder and more deep because now I also had a kid. So it was really painful because I felt like I don't know, I didn't know what to do. I just really didn't know what to do. I still don't really often feel like I know what to do. And I just felt so broken again. And it was around this time that a friend invited me to church. Now, I wasn't looking for God, and at that time I was a deeply skeptical agnostic, right? And something happened though at this church. Like I just was like, I'll try anything at this point. Take me to your church, whatever. Well, just whatever. You're my friend, and I need to have friends and connection, and fine. I'll please you by people please you by going to your church. But I'm telling you, something happened at this church that I went to. Something happened, something unexplainable. I broke down, and I did feel something happening to me, and I felt grace, and I was bawling my eyes out in a church. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt, I don't even know how to put words to it. It was like I was crying and I was sad, but I was happy. I didn't know what was happening to me, but I just knew that in that moment I was surrendering. I was surrendering a lot because I was already so down. And this is not a religious pitch at all. This is just part of my story. I think I just surrendered all of it. The shame, the pain, the wreckage, the embarrassment, everything I just surrendered. And from there, something had changed in me. And again, it's not a religious pitch. It's just the accurate detailing of my story. And from there, something did change where I now felt like I had permission to proceed with getting help. And I felt like I had a bit more boost under me, like a little bit more motivation, a little bit more safety. And it definitely was like the religious stuff, but like that's just the way it was. And then but something definitely happened to me where like I all of a sudden was like motivated to get help and to self-explore and to discover and I had the courage finally to like get help. So I had never really gone to therapy. I had tried it. I would quit. I didn't think it was helping me. I think I wasn't ready to confront anything really, but finally did therapy. I did EMDR, which life-changing, absolutely amazing. So I started doing therapy, and one thing led to another, and I just started becoming very, very into self-discovery and putting the pieces of my life together. And healing, meditation, self-inquiry, constant the learning, everything out. If you were to look at my YouTube feed and podcasts I was listening to, it was all about that. Like I was getting so deep into like trying to figure out why, what. There's more to this story than just my ADHD. It's not just that I have ADHD and can't manage like money, because it wasn't just money. It was friendships, it was relationships, it was self-sabotage, and just never ending that. And so finally just like was like, I've had enough of this and I'm ready to do something about it. And so like reading Delivered from Distraction had like introduced me to the possibility that like I wasn't broken, and that like ADHD, like now that I understand the ADHD and I've been educated, like I'll be good. That was just like the tippiest tip of the iceberg. The tippiest tip. In therapy, I saw how so many of my memories, my most vivid childhood memories, were stories of this unseen hurt and humiliated and broken child. And my therapist, God bless her, helped me meet, little me, my inner child. And who I found when I went to go meet my inner child, the little Dave, was a little boy who was scared, alone, sad, unseen, feeling unworthy, feeling like a disappointment, feeling like an outcast. And it's funny because like what little Dave needed, when I met him at the grocery store, I was lost. I didn't know where my mom was, and I was alone. I was crying and I was hiding in the corner. When I went to that memory and I walked up to little Dave, what did he need? He just needed a major hug, to be looked square in the eyes and be told, you're going to be okay. I love you so much. And when I was starting to put the pieces together of my life and all the things that I just thought were normal for people, it's tempting to kind of unpack more than I need to, but people in my life who I had shame, deep shame about my identity and who I was. My beliefs about myself, I learned, were terrible. This pain that I had been harboring and holding on, that because I've been the people pleaser, I've been the perfectionist, I've been the trying to not let anyone down, but by trying so hard to do that, letting everyone down. And on occasion, something would break in me, and my frustration and anger and my resentment at just life would spill out. But for the most part, I was just that perfectionist, people pleasing kid. But I now finally saw through therapy how my pain had become my identity, and how it wasn't that I was making mistakes and that I made stupid errors, and it was that I was a mistake. I was stupid. I am dumb. I am a disappointment. I am unworthy. I am unseen. I am unnoticeable. And so what do I have to do to be noticeable? I have to try to be special. I have to try to make the perfect systems for my clients. I have to try and make the perfect everything for everyone. And I can dress it all up and make it look pretty, because if I make it look pretty enough, maybe people will be convinced that it is pretty and that I am pretty. But the reality is I'm just covering for what feels pretty broken inside. When this therapist squarely looks at you in the eye and say like what is the core belief driving that behavior? And we did dig down. It's like, oh wow, I am stupid. I believe I am stupid. Saying that I am smart feels alien and feels uncomfortable. And so why is this even important for any of this? First of all, I like telling my story because I think people can see themselves in it, especially with ADHD, and it all comes back to money ultimately, because that's the area I've chosen to focus on to help people. But the point of all of this is that with shame, which is, the business name is Shameless Money, right? It's so important to me. It's so personal to me because the word shame, I didn't understand. And when I understood it, everything started to click. When you have shame, it means your belief, it's not I was or I did a stupid thing. It's I am stupid. And so when you have that belief, your subconscious, the deepest part of your neurological being, believes that is what you are, then whenever you do something that's not stupid, or if you believe I am bad at money, by nature, born to be bad at money, when you have that subconscious belief about yourself, what are you going to do when you start the new budget app? And you have all that and all the dopamine because it's new and novel and it's fun and it's interesting, and I'm going to set up this budget. And then when you do well with it for a month and you are making progress, look at all that progress you made. Well, what do you think your subconscious is telling you and wanting you to do next? Because you're not good at money, are you? No, you can't be. You are bad at money, remember? So we are going to set up conditions where you will self-sabotage, blow yourself up, and go right back to where you were, because your subconscious is familiar with that feeling. It likes that feeling. It's the feeling it understands. So it will always revert you back, which is why shame is a cycle. You try to get out. You fight it. It becomes bigger ultimately, and you're back to where you started. And this is how I finally got free from financial demons. And I couldn't let myself believe that it's just me, because people with ADHD have 20,000 more negative instances throughout their life than the average neurotypical person. What does that do to your self-esteem, to your beliefs about yourself? You have developed neurological programs in your brain that are trained to tell you that when you do something stupid, it's not because you did something stupid that you can recover from, it's because you are stupid. That's what you have a program in your mind telling you to do. And you do it on repeat, and nothing ever changes, and you just keep searching and thinking that this thing that I get, this will be the thing that changes my life, because they are telling me that it will fix my problem. You have to fix yourself from the inside out. It's not fixing yourself, it's just befriending yourself, accepting yourself. Don't push away the shame, understand the shame. Don't push away the demons. Keep your enemies closer, right? You understand it, become a friend, become curious about it. So I ended up talking way longer than I wanted to for this. It's my habit. I don't know how to get across the intensity of which I feel and things in just 10 minutes or whatever, like most YouTube videos out there. I tried, but I failed at that. But that's okay, because I'm thinking I'll just do me. And if me is longer, so be it. It was fun to do longer. So the freedom came not just from accepting ADHD, but from accepting my entire self, from decoding my story, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, understanding, confronting people in my life who needed to be confronted, seeing my pain and not fighting it, understanding my pain, accepting the pain I'd been through, and just pursuing real answers. I mean, there's so much freedom, and this was a lot of work. And this journey that I'm on is not over. This video that I'm doing right now, it's just a stop. It's just a stop in the road. It's just a temporary reflection of an ongoing story. And I don't know what's next. Like, I can't wait for the next chapter now. Like, this is what's so different about me, is that I used to be fearful about every step I would take. I would just be fearful. I would just think I will fail. And while I still have that lingers, I've really built up the part of me that can fight it. So here's what's different for me now. You know, the best part about this is I can say this with a smile. I can say this with confidence, with pride, and without that little voice in me in my head telling me that you're being a fako right now and that it's not true. I've stopped impulsive spending. The impulsive spending that I used to do was outrageous. I've pretty much completely put a stop to that. And it used to be where I would stop for 3 months and then shame spiral back. Now it's I have no interest. Now that I know why, and there's a lot more to the why. There's so much more to all of this. I've done so much on this. But now that I know why, I can't be bothered to. Oh, that's just a part of a narrative that was built upon shame and built upon, and now I understand that story. So why would, that's not a story I'm interested in anymore. Not interested in that story anymore. I've stuck to my financial plans. I've gotten pretty much out of debt. There's still some debt left. I'm not going to lie to you. And when I slip up, I don't spiral, because I do still slip up. And when I do slip up, I don't know. I've built up a groundedness and an understanding of who I am, and such a hyper awareness of who I am. And I just can't be bothered now to let it get me down too much. Do I still get financial anxiety? Yes. Do I still get stressed out? Yes. Do I have 2 kids and a family and I'm trying to grow a business and I still am learning so much? Yes, there's a lot of pressure still, and I try and deal with that all the time. And I'm just I guess I'm just one of those people that's just a self-improvement junkie now. I don't know. I think that's probably what it is. So at In Focus Wealth Strategies, the financial planning business, which still exists, and for the right type of client, I'm still taking clients at In Focus Wealth Strategies for people that are, do have a lot of income and maybe have gone past some of the deepest emotional kind of financial issues. But when I was working with clients at In Focus, part of the thing was while I did have financial shame and imposter syndrome and all that, I still handed people really detailed plans of with all the subtasks breaking down. I followed all of the ADHD guides, all the tips, and I followed all the instruction manuals that you would have to do to help someone with ADHD. I held people's hands, helped them implement systems where money would just go where it goes, and here's your rule, you have to follow this rule, you can't do that, and you have to cut this much spending, and here's exactly where you're going to cut. No matter what I would do, a lot of clients couldn't make progress, and I was frustrated because it felt because at that point I was internalizing everything as a me, I'm doing this wrong. But through my journey that I've just shared, I pretty much learned through that journey that, it's because the shame. And I think shame is the center issue for so many people with money, not just with ADHD, mind you. I like to talk about ADHD and all that, but for a lot of people. It's financial shame, and it's real. It's super real. There's money scripts, money beliefs we have that we get when we're kids that if we don't understand them and don't explore them, we just live by those scripts, and it can be very destructive to our futures. There's so much to unpack, and we're going to talk about all of this on this channel. I promise not every episode is going to be this long. This was just like, I wanted to get my reintroduction, my story out of the way, because since the last time I did a story, I've come a lot of miles since then. And so, but the mission of Shameless Money is about helping you not stop abandoning yourself, and to break cycles through compassion and self-exploration, and becoming grounded in who we are and what we want, and healing. I mean, this is the mission. The mission is to help people break free from financial shame, so that they can build sustainable progress over the long term. And so on this channel, we're gonna have fun. It's not all gonna be heavy like this. We're gonna talk about money, emotions, systems, tools. I pretty much professionally just build people financial systems at this point, it feels like, most of the time, and I love doing that. I've learned I'm a builder at heart. We're going to talk about money, emotion, systems, psychology, all through ADHD lens. We're going to have fun, and coming soon, we're going to have coaching courses and community, a tribe of people all decoding their money stories together, and understanding shame together, and labeling it, naming it, becoming friends with it, accepting it, moving forward with more freedom. We have courses, community. We talked about that. The stakes are too high to keep ignoring this part of life. If I'm speaking to you, then please, I'll just know that the stakes are too high to keep ignoring this part of your life. Your future you is going to thank you in a big way. If all of this resonates, subscribe to the channel. If you want to go check out old things I've done, ADHD Money Talk podcast. If you want to get on our newsletter and get a free ebook, free value-packed updates coming soon, and freebies and stuff. It's going to be a very exciting time. Then we do have a financial transformation coaching package. It's 3 sessions, a deep discovery call. You get a personalized roadmap with your money story decoded and a financial system built for you. And then we do 2 sessions implementing that system. It's going to help you start to understand your money story. It's not going to solve the emotional problems, but it's going to give you the seed. It's going to seed the energy that you are going to want to have to go down that path if this is speaking to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Let's make money less scary together, and maybe even a little fun, and I'll be with you all the way through it. All right, guys. See you later.